On the red team, the Centurions, we have the RAS Milano, a Mobula piloted by blue. From left to right, we have a flare gun, an Artemis, a center mercury field gun, another Artemis, and a flamethrower. Their ally, the RAS Serrano, is a blender fish piloted by a salt pig, with the left side Banshee, right side flamethrower.
Yep, and on the blue team, which is the Storm Ryders, we have Fancy Fairy, piloted by Dementio, and it is a Mobula, and it has a flare gun on the side, on the wing, and a Gatling in the middle, and a Mercury up top, and a Hades on the one side, and a Banshee on the other side, on the other wing. And on the last ship we have the Livgdl, which is or LivGDL, which is Carrowfish, with a Banshee on the port side and a flamethrower on the starboard side, and it's piloted by Luosi.
So, what do you think about the Fancy Fairies loadout here? They've got that Hades on the lower right, and the Gatling gun on the lower left. Do you feel like that's like how are they going to bring that into a fight? Because typically you see on the Mobula, you see the Hades in the center position.
I think it's a bit
Kind of
weird.
as the like they've got triple armor strippers on this ship.
We can
It
ask.
looks like
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say it looks like we have the beginning of the fight here. We have some Mercury shots going out.
So let's see. There's just some sniping matches here now on each side of the bridge.
But I feel like they're probably because what this means is that the Fancy Fairy is going to have difficulty using 3 guns simultaneously. They're not going to be able to use the Merc in concert with, say, double Artemis, like you traditionally see on the Mobula, because they only have two guns that are effective at long range. LibGDL actually taking a real ballsy charge here right into the enemy encampment. Looks like their target is the Serrano.
And in the start of the engagement, the Serrano has now disabled the LibGDL's heavy carnage twice in this engagement. That's pretty impressive. And the LibGDL's balloon is down, his hull is burning, and the Serrano looks like he has the upper hand of the LibGDL, at least at the moment. But now the
Serrano's balloon goes down.
And his front gun as well.
But we do have the Milano and the Fancy Fairy fighting off as well. I wonder if it was the LibGDL's purpose to try to convince the Mobula to turn to allow the Fancy Fairy a favorable engagement. But it looks like we will have an even fight between these two Mobulas. Fancy Fairy... Let's see, how are they... Okay, it looks like they are going to be using the right side Hades and Banshee on the Fancy Fairy for this kind of mid-range engagement. Okay, so LibGDL actually managed to pull the Serrano away from his ally, disable his balloon, and then leave him, and now the LibGDL has come back to rejoin his ally so they can double-team the Milano. Not that the Fancy Fairy needs it, as they managed to take down the Red Mobula before the LibGDL really even re-engages. And now the Serrano's all on their own.
Yep, and now Serrano's gonna get a meat grind in this situation here. He disables the LibGDL's front gun though, which is will save him from getting his balloon popped that quick. Looks like he's rushing for an escape, but I don't think it will be enough. Here comes the his hull's down, and the Hades is raining. The Banshee is coming in, and
They're trying to go for this. There's a little bit of a gap between the map edge and the spire, and I think that's... Well, it looked like that what they were trying to go for. They realized they didn't have enough time, so they've turned to fight. But they're taking so much damage. They're not going to be alive much longer. And the goldfish is not able to get quick kills, so they're not going to be able to do any lasting damage before they hit the ground. Although they are doing a pretty good job tanking with both Athena Rave and Mooney Driver kind of keeping that whole armor up very quickly. Although I feel like this is probably going to be the end for the Serrano as they do go down.
But did you see what the LibGDL did? That was sneaky of it. That was so sneaky. It shot the balloon once, so it didn't pop the balloon, but it disabled it that much that it can't go up and down. So the goldfish was basically just disabled on the spot there. It couldn't do anything. So the Fancy Fairy could just keep the same height levitation as it was, and just continue shooting at it. That was pretty sneaky by LibGDL, because he just took his shot and then just slowly returned away.
And excuse me, I coughed into the mic and I forgot to use my mic button for the first time. But during that whole fight, Milano had respawned and they made the correct decision, staying back, staying concealed behind that cloud. So they will have a chance to regroup with their ally and go in with both ships at full health. Fancy Ferry is pretty significantly damaged. And that's certainly important considering Dementio's decided to bring more of a mid to close range setup than we typically see with Mobulas. So they're going to have to be very careful with their hull armor.
If he goes down 2 more times, I'm pretty sure that the Fancy Ferry is dead.
Yeah, certainly. And you saw in that fight, first, basically the Fancy Ferry, they have Geo Rimmer, their gunner. He was hanging out on the Mercury. Basically, they had the Mercury going for the beginning of the fight, Mercury and the Hades, and then the Mercury gunner transitioned to the Banshee. So at mid-range, they had the Hades Banshee going, and then when they finally got into close range, if the whole engineer was not repairing, he would hop on the Gatling gun, so they would have a nice close-range trifecta, which seemed to do fairly well for them in that previous engagement.
Yep. So, and the Banshee is also on the balloon side, so they can. So Dimension can just focus on keeping his right side in arc instead of keeping both right and left. And the Banshee has such a turning arc anyway, so it's really nice.
Red Team's about to get cornered into the edge of the map here. They have nowhere really they can go, so they are forced to fight. LibGDL managing to balloon disable the Serrano, and they're just going to pass him off to the Fancy Ferry.
Yeah,
Yes, it looks like LibGDL is going to now focus on the Milano, take out their balloon as well. Not able to do it on the first clip, so Milano will get an engagement on the Fancy Ferry, taking down the Fancy Ferry's whole armor, but they have those Artemis. The Artemis can't shoot up. The Fancy Ferry is too high, so they're unable to secure the kill, and now the Milano is the one in the bad spot, deploying Drogue Shoot. LibGDL getting that Flamer in, getting that Heavy Carronade in. Everything's on fire on the Milano, and they're probably going to take a little bit of a bump from the LibGDL. Ooh, just barely managing to get their whole armor back up, but they will go down. But on a little farther back, we do have the Fancy Ferry taking a bit of a beating from the Serrano. Their balloon is down. Serrano has the high ground, but the Fancy Ferry does have those close range weapons, so they might fare a little bit better than the Milano did in the similar situation. I wonder if Fancy Ferry is going to be able to stay alive long enough for the LibGDL to come back in.
It looks like he might now, because now he's dropped his Drogue Shoot and he's just continues now falling.
Oh yeah, and now he's kind of drifted over. Ooh, look at this spawn from the Milano. They might be able to get some work done here.
If this is done right now, this could be a 3-1 engagement, or 3-2 score.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Milano not able to get the Hades or the Mercury into effect fast enough, so they weren't able to secure the kill on Fancy Ferry. They've decided to settle for LibGDL, but that gives the Fancy Ferry free reign to fire on the Milano, taking down their hull armor. They have so much hull shredding on that blue Mobula, and they are going to take down the Milano. Serrano. Milano goes down, Serrano comes up.
And LibGDL has now disabled the front gun of the Serrano twice. He saved his ally now twice from the death, and now Serrano's balloon is down, getting a bump. His whole armor is breaking, and LibGDL has just completely control over Serrano in this engagement. Serrano is popping some high kerosene to try and get backwards. His balloon is now still down, while the Milano has won. Now they're just going to take their time and finishing off Serrano. There's not much he can do. But the Milano, oh no, Milano, there goes the 5-0. That means that the Storm Riders are in the finals, while the Centurions have dropped down to the losers bracket.